Welcome, Soccer Nova Scotia, you beauty listeners. Lads, camera. What do you think?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is what we're going to do.
It's about time.
Because I know you're probably like, what the hell is going on here right now?
Yeah.
The idea is this will go out live on Wednesdays, it normally does, but then the video will also be on YouTube. So, I don't know, get a face to a voice. Yeah, we've gone with names, voice to a name. Now we're going to a face to a. No,
I bet you our viewers decrease very quickly.
Probably.
Face for the radio.
Before we do it though, happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right. So you're
32.
32.
I'm 32.
Wow.
Actually, no, I'm 40, and I'm happy to be 40. I think things will get better with age. So.
Do you think so?
Yep.
Like a malt whiskey.
I see good things happening. Yeah, I see being a part of like a whiskey club or cigars and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff in store.
Okay.
Can only get better.
We need some cigars. Maybe we should do cigars as we do this.
Yes.
No.
No, we don't like tobacco.
No.
No.
All right. So why are we doing a video podcast? Why are we doing it with you two again? The subject is the recent news around the Nova Scotia soccer leagues in general, coming under Soccer Nova Scotia's leadership. Brad, do you want to give us a little bit of the how are we here?
Sure.
You know, what's happened over the last couple of weeks, I guess.
Years.
Particularly.
Years, yeah. I'll just go back a little bit. Part of the strategic plan, the feedback that came out of the plan was improving member leagues. So we looked at what needed to be improved and received feedback through that document. And the document included items like inconsistent schedules, seasons don't align, no standards within the leagues, no social events. It just, you know, they were leagues, but there was more the members were asking for. So from that feedback, we looked and thought about what we could do, and the idea was struck that we could run what is now the CISL, the MISL, and NSSL. So Soccer Nova Scotia would focus on the AAA, AA side of things, on the youth side, and include the seniorship, the premiership, and championship divisions, and also focus on what was considered Tier 2, now ABC. So yeah, that was the idea. The feedback came. We looked at a business model that made sense, where we could cut costs, economies of scale, save some money on facilities, and work as one and have one scheduler to provide consistent schedules. Right now, there are many different groups that are looking for the best scheduling for their league, but we're not looking at the big picture and how to make all of them work together. So that's what's happening. We met with the presidents, the club presidents, and the club presidents agreed that they wanted a new structure. The new structure was presented to them. The leagues right now are looking to wind up their leagues, and they've been supportive. There have been a lot of questions regarding the leagues. Some of the leagues had a feeling that the Tier 2 athletes would subsidize the Tier 1 from this new league, but that's not the case at all. I don't know where that came from, but that did come from somewhere, and that's not the case. What we're trying to do is provide a league that kids are proud to play in, that clubs are happy with, that makes sense, that's affordable, and consistent schedules, and we'll be treating the Tier 2s the exact same as Tier 1s. Yeah, so I'm excited about it, but there's a lot of work to happen now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot in that kind of intro. I mean, Matt, you are more recent than me, particularly within the Halifax HRM. You've lived I guess the current league structure. How do you see some of what Brad's mentioned with regards to some of the things that the membership was saying, and how this can just generally get better?
I think consistent schedule is the main one, and probably the easiest to fix in year one. I remember at City, when you're working with 30 odd teams, you do your training schedule, then the league schedule comes out, and you've got a team that's scheduled to practice Monday and Wednesday, and their league games are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then next week it'll be Monday, and then the following week it's Thursday. So just from a club nightmare, from a club point perspective, it's a nightmare to try and schedule practices.
It is a club nightmare.
Yeah.
Really, I mean,
It is.
I mean, think about it from a parent's perspective. I mean, like, you know, forget about however much the programs are, you know, being advertised from a cost standpoint, but
Yeah.
how are you ever going to commit to anything when you really have got so much uncertainty about when you're going to play?
Yeah, but also think about it from a business model perspective. You have leagues that are set up, and leagues they're businesses, right? They're all set up. They have their own employees, and they're all trying to do the best thing they can do for each other. And then all the clubs are dealing with all of them separately. Like, it's a disaster to try to organize it. The only way to potentially make the system better is to restructure and change the system.
So let's talk about quickly, because this one is, I think, going to be one of the more easier objectives. So right now, because the leagues are all separate entities, they all fight for the same kind of facilities, and that's where that fragmented allocation of time comes from.
To be clear, we're talking about inter-district and provincial leagues.
Right.
So we have majority of the clubs are from Metro, but we do have clubs from South Shore Valley.
Yeah, of course. No, for sure. But it's, I would imagine their facility infrastructure accessibility is much easier than what it is right now.
Absolutely.
In HRM. So there's been a meeting with HRM already.
Yep.
To talk about Soccer Nova Scotia managing the field facilities themselves so that they can actually allocate this efficiently. So what is the objective, and what will we see after this, for example, Matt?
Okay, Matt, what do you think?
For me, it's just, if you're let's pick an age group at random. Just say if you're a U15 boy that's playing A or B level soccer, you know that you're going to play Monday nights.
Yeah.
Or if you're a U17 girl, you know that your game night's going to be Tuesday nights. So I think that does a couple of things. One, going back to the club thing, it allows you to schedule practices easier. When you're trying to get a coach for the team, you can go to them and say, look, this is exactly when you're going to play. You're going to play every Tuesday between maybe 6 and 8 o'clock, whatever the times are, and your practices will be Monday, Wednesday to complement that. And they know exactly what they're signing up for. So I think from a club perspective, it becomes easier to recruit coaches, to give information to parents up front, and the whole package just becomes more, I don't want to say transparent, but it becomes clearer for everyone to see.
Accessible.
Accessible, yeah.
Parents, I think parents are going to love it. As a parent myself, it's so difficult to get my kids to everything they want to get to. And then we're not even talking about multi-sport athletes. So there's kids also that want to play 2 sports in the summertime recreationally. They want to have fun. They may now be able to actually take a look at it and say, okay, I can commit to both. I can make both happen, or I might have to miss one practice once in a while or one game, but I can make it work. It just makes it so much easier for parents to be a part of it and understand what they're getting involved in. Where last year, and I understand this because I've talked to parents and received feedback, parents did not know week to week what was going to happen. So their schedules get thrown off, so they start resenting the sport, and that's what causes kids to leave the game.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously consistent schedules is a huge plus straight out the gate. Another one around it is the ability to try and, I guess, link in the administration with some of the technical LTPD values and principles within the actual league structured system. So one of them that's been discussed is actually having a seeding stage, and I know that was somewhat our feet went in the waters a little bit last year with the CISL trying to figure out seeding, but we're going to go full in this time. So there's actually going to be a block out of time in the early part of the season for seeding. Matt, do you want to give us a bit more info on what that might look like, and then what happens after seeding in terms of administratively, and what are we able to do with that time where that's going on?
Yeah, so the way we looked at it was, from year to year, clubs really are guessing what teams they have. So they might have a team that they think is an A team based on the history, but that year they should really be a B team. So what's happened in the past is clubs register teams at a level, they play at that level that might not be appropriate for them. They're either winning games by 6, 7, 8 goals a game, or worse than that, losing them 6, 7, 8 goals a game, and they're locked into the league. So we looked at it and thought, what can we do to make sure teams and players are playing at a level that's appropriate to their skill level? So basically we took what we see being the summer schedule, and the first 2 weeks would be for seeding games. So clubs would still intimate to us, right, we think we've got 2 U15 teams, we think one's an A team, we think one's a B team. We'll formulate a schedule, or a scheduler will formulate a schedule based on that initial forecast where they should be. And after a round of 4 games, I think is what we're aiming for. After a round of 4 games, we should be able to see pretty well if there's a team that who's registered at B but is clearly too strong, or a team that's registered at A that should probably be at B. And so after those 4 games over a 2-week period, we basically look at what's gone on and said formulate what the actual leagues are. So these are A's, these are B's, and from that point, so you've had our scheduling, we've had our seeding games. We'll block a week off where we can schedule the league season, and during that week we can run coach education things, so that coaches can get there.
Accessible, isn't it, really? Yeah.
So there's no league games conflicting with when we're running courses, so it just makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a holistic approach right now. So, you know, what the player needs, what the coach needs in order to give what the player needs, what the family needs in order to participate right now with signing. And there's lots of other things that we're probably not even going to discuss today.
I think a big part, Mike, too, is that the league will have an advisory committee that's made up of league representatives, club representatives, and it's important for us to get feedback from the clubs too. Like before, there were certain leagues that had individuals, representatives from clubs, and other leagues didn't. So now the club will understand what the needs are of the league will understand what the needs are of the clubs, which I think is very important for us going forward. We need to make sure the product is correct, proper for the clubs.
So Brad, you talk about the product. One of the sticks that the leagues get hit with, and I've seen photos myself, is the quality of the playing surface. Yeah. So what is going on now behind the scenes to ensure that playing surface is to a satisfactory standard with the relationship with HRM, but also potentially looking at field specifics for certain age groups. What's going on right now? You know, how does that link into the wider vision? What information do you have for us on that?
I think it's one of the new things we discussed that we wanted to take a look at fields in HRM and outside HRM. We've had the CC Riders approach us, and also East Hants to talk about fields as well. There's things happening in the Valley right now with fields and South Shore with fields. So, but in HRM particularly, I guess what we want to do is provide more support and leadership to HRM, so they have an understanding of what fields are being utilized right now, which ones aren't being utilized, which ones are not satisfactory for play, which ones should be more practice fields, which ones should be 9-a-side. Like, that's what we're trying to do. So they have an inventory done on their side of things, but their inventory does not get specific, and they're looking for the specifics. So Matt's been working with clubs. CISL already had some documentation, but Matt's been working with clubs to identify what fields need to be brought up a level or two to be able to play. And in the opposite too, maybe there's fields that can be let go, that they don't need anymore. So we're going to work with HRM to try to make sure that we get what we're looking for to make sure the game can grow.
That's great.
And we spoke about this, I think, on a past podcast, but there's kids out there that haven't played on grass. Like, there's kids that are 15 and 17 that have barely played on grass. And I mean, that's, you know, it's obviously a different game on grass, but it is important that, and it's cheaper.
Well, it's the
and we're trying to reduce
piece,
costs.
Right.
So it is important that we try to bring grass back, but in order to offer a game or two on grass per season for those that don't play, we need to make sure we have quality fields. If we don't have quality fields, they're going to complain, and we're going to have to go back to turf.
Completely agree. So obviously these are all objectives that you have straight out the gate. What are some of the longer term items that you think you need to be focusing on in order to continue to grow the league and the brand in itself, the product? What else have you got in the back of your mind and you're having ongoing discussions with?
Well, I think some of the points about standards in the leagues are very important, that we need to have standards within leagues.
So standards, we have standards in other programs, specifically though for recreational community soccer. Can you give us some examples of what a standard? Because I mean, a standard maybe at the high performance level could be coaching credentials.
Right.
Are we looking at standards of maybe coaching credentials for even tier, the 15As?
I mean, potentially. I think what we have to look at is we have to find out what's practical and realistic in those areas. But at the same time, kids deserve to have proper education, and if they're paying to play the game, they deserve to be properly coached. and coaches should have that proper certification or knowledge of the game.
And it's not uncommon from other sports.
No,
like
no,
if your club's going to provincial championships in say basketball,
Yep.
the coach must have a certain requirement, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Same
So-
as baseball. Same as hockey. It happens.
So with I guess the governing body who's primarily responsible for growing and developing the sport, some of these requirements can be now, I guess, I don't want to use the word mandated, but could be encouraged
Yeah.
through appropriate blackouts so that they're accessible, for example.
I mean, yeah, and let's be honest, we're dealing with the provincial government and Sport Nova Scotia that have requirements of us to make sure that we have certified coaches. And when we do our reports and we don't have certified coaches, it looks really bad on us when other sports do. So we understand there's challenges. We understand there's a financial impact. We get it. But if we control these leagues, it's going to allow us to actually make sure that there's time built in and get the support of the clubs to help out financially. So this can actually
Right.
happen.
I mean, you mentioned the reducing the cost here as well. I mean, if cost is reduced, we should have more maybe budget to support the educational
For
piece.
sure. For sure.
What else is going on? So there's obviously what other standards maybe we discussing here. I mean, I know we're talking big picture. I mean, is there any push for improving respect within the sport?
Yeah.
Parental education. Or if clubs are not using certain tools that they should be for developmental reasons, like the retreat line.
Yeah, so compliance is huge, and we've had that discussion to talk about. I think long term we need to make sure that we're checking up on things and that the product is what we want it to be. Respect in sport is an interesting one. We've thrown that back and forth, I think, for 2 years at the board table. Discussed with other sports. Great, it's a great program.
Are you talking about the specific respect to sport? Sorry, I was more general respect.
I think the game in general, but
Yeah.
but also in regards to coaches having respect in sport.
Sure.
It's come up, and it's a CSA initiative, Canada Soccer Initiative. So we'll see if that goes through. But yeah, making sure that fields are properly lined, making sure that they have what they require. Referees. Same thing, level of referee, how many referees we have on the field. So there's a whole lot of things that we have to take a look at the grassroots level, but compliance is definitely a large one right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen immediately, but I think that'll happen over time. I think over time we'll get a good idea from the advisory committee of what we can handle right now and what we can't handle.
Mm-hmm. I think the items that we've talked about are that, if that was changed alone in year one, people would be very, very satisfied.
Yeah. I mean, the retreat line is very important too. I mean, there's those initiatives that I think are very important. I just think that we need to make sure that the clubs are prepared for what we're doing, and we have lots of time ahead to get ahead of it, because it does change the makeup of our fields.
Right.
And a lot of these communities too, there's volunteers that are lining these fields and taking care of them as well. So we have to make sure we're on the right timing is there for that.
What else in regards to this?
Yeah, the leagues, social events. We talk about. I have kids myself, teenagers myself. You have young kids. Yours is 7. A big part of growing up these days is face to face with kids and the social aspects that they don't get a lot anymore because they're on their phones or they're on their computers. They get social on phones and on computers, but they don't hang with their friends a lot unless they're in these organized sports now. So a part of it, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have social events for kids and for coaches.
An example for the players,
An example for the players could be a league dance that we do. It could be for younger players. It could be bouncy castles in our facility. Social events for coaches could be during the World Cup. We partner up with a local pub and offer a pub night. And we get our coaches there to enjoy watching the game in a social environment. It's not an education piece. It's more of just getting around and being a part of something. So I think if we can make this league, make clubs feel like they're a part of it, make the coaches and the athletes feel like they're a part of it, they get something else out of it. Could be movie night at Cineplex, where we rent the theater and play a game or watch a game on the Cineplex theater, which we've spoken to them about that as well. So we want it to be more than just paying, getting a schedule, and playing the game. And I guess the other part too would be we need to have a strong relationship with the CPL team. Hopefully that announcement's going to happen very soon, that Halifax will have a team in the Canadian Premier League.
anything to do with maybe games having an opportunity to play on the Wanderers?
100%. We've already discussed that with HRM, and the CPL ownership group have already stated that they want to have a strong relationship with this new league, particularly the Premiership, the Premier League. This is where the players will come from. Hopefully some of the players will come from there. That will be the pathway. And so having a strong relationship with them, they could put on some clinics for our players as well. But I think the new league, when you look at the social aspects of it too, involve for us more marketing and promoting the game, more club days, getting clubs out to the games. Another idea is some fundraising initiatives that could go back to help out the subsidizing the cost of the
sponsor as well. You've got one youth
sponsorship.
League. It's way more attractive to a business.
Yeah, but if you want to look at the business side of it, think of what's happening in Glace Bay with hockey, or think about what's happening in Pownell and Charlottetown with sports where they're running 50-50 draws, and every bit of the proceeds go back to subsidize the cost of the program so the kids don't play. I mean, we have a perfect facility for that. We will have league staff that can help out, and that could be an option presented to the clubs if they wanted to do a month-wide 50-50 draw, a month-long 50-50 draw to subsidize the cost of the league, so maybe the clubs won't have to pay next year. Who knows?
From a publicity standpoint, and I know there's a lot being thrown at people listening in regards to what could happen with this league. Around a publicity standpoint, is maybe streaming games and having team games in the facility.
Absolutely.
Going straight onto YouTube Live or Facebook Live or whatever we decide. That's something that we've experimented with a recent Whitecap session. Is that something you foresee maybe in year one?
I think it's fantastic, and I think it should happen with different levels, random games, picks of A games or B games or AA or AAA, whatever it is. But
some U10 games?
Yeah, some U10 games. Get it out there. Let the kids watch themselves after it, or let their parents, grandparents watch them play where they wouldn't have the opportunity to play. I think those are awesome initiatives. Any way that we can get our sport exciting and sort of relatable to the kids is very, very important. So in this day and age, live streaming is perfect.
Yeah, it is so easy. So last question, putting you on the spot.
Go ahead.
What's the name going to be?
I don't know. I have no idea.
No?
We had a discussion with some individuals, and it seems like some don't want to lose the history. Some want a fresh new look, fresh new start. So it'll be interesting, but we'll be listening to the clubs and determining what it is. But whatever the name is, our main goal is to make sure that the product is much better than it's been in the past, and more affordable. Definitely over time, it'll be more affordable. So no, I'm excited about it. I think it's also going to help clubs promote their registration as well. I think parents are going to want to be a part of this league. They're going to want their kids to be a part of this league. So anything we can do to try to help the game grow, I think this is a first step in many, as you know, with the strategic plan.
Yep. Matt, anything on leagues before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. Just that we are really looking big picture here, rather than just, like Brad said, churning out a schedule, getting kids playing, and then season finishes, do it all over again. It's like, how can we improve the sport? How can we make sure kids come back year after year, season after season? And I think some of the stuff we've spoken about is going to help that. So, what
I'd like to say too, Mike, if you don't mind, is any listener that's out there, if you're a parent, if you're a kid listening, and there's something you'd love to see in a new league, let us know. Maybe you have some great ideas that we don't, and we should be trying to get some of that feedback. We can get it through clubs, but why not?
Let's do it as a prize.
There we go.
Give us some suggestions.
We have a piece of pizza sitting here in the office.
No.
It'll be fine.
Piece of cake.
Ella Greek Restaurant, Costa.
There we go.
We'll have a lunch voucher. So send some ideas. Can be realistic, quirky, whatever you want. Just send some ideas that we can improve the game on. I mean, what I'll say, fellas, is that I've been in this chair, not this physical chair, but in the chair in general for coming on 4 years, I think. There's not a lot you can do unless you run your leagues. I mean, it's really your heartbeat of everything you try and do. I think finally having the ability to grow and develop the sport, we have that opportunity because the leagues are the heartbeat. It's very difficult to do anything because, as we've seen with some of the challenges, it's trying to get gaps to actually do initiatives that are about social education. It's tough. It's really, really tough. So I'm really excited. I know there's a lot of work still to be done. I'm sure there's going to be major bumps in the road.
Yes.
I don't think we can sit here and say that there won't be. But I know that we're all, particularly in this room as well as some outside there, we're willing to learn and we want to get better.
I think it's also important to note that we're not blind to this stuff. Like, I've run leagues in the past in my positions. You've run a league. You've run a league. We're hiring staff that are currently involved in running leagues, so we're not blindfolded here as we're approaching this. But with any change will come some bumps in the road until we get it right. And I think we have some great framework to make sure that that happens in year one, and we'll see how it works.
I think the other thing, just to add on that, is that any decisions we do make, whether right or wrong, will be done with the best interest of the game.
Yeah.
So it might not initially be seen as positive, like the retreat line wasn't seen as positive when we brought it in. The power play wasn't universally seen as positive when we brought it in, but we'll be looking at the best interests of the players and what can we do to make their experience as good.
And I think to that point, Matt, there's going to be a technical advisory committee, there's a technical committee. All of these things that are generally agreed on and then implemented are done through that consultation process. It's not Matt Holton, yourself.
Yeah.
So if it is done and you don't agree with it, you're certainly entitled. But it's been done with a consultation of professionals and people that want to see the game improve. And there's always going to be bad decisions and good decisions, but at the end of the day, as I think your point is it's been made with the right interest, and that's for the players.
And the leagues as well will have, club people that are connected very well to the clubs that are going to have direct input into this, where a lot of them didn't have it before. So many different brains tapping into this league to try to improve it or make it what it should be. So I think it's a fantastic initiative.
Last question, what are you doing tonight for your 40th then?
My 40th birthday tonight? I'm not quite sure.
Not sure?
I would say it'll have something to do with supper, maybe some food and a movie, maybe.
What movie?
I don't know.
Okay, I watched the new Thor. Didn't think it was going to be very good. The one with Hulk in it. Yeah. It was actually hilarious.
I'm not a Thor guy.
The wife thought it was hilarious as well. It's
really?
Funny. It's the best one she's seen, like Marvel. She's not a big Marvel fan either, but
wow.
Thor, the new one.
I went to go see 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, is it? Is that what it's called? Have you ever heard of it?
No, I've never.
It's fantastic.
What is it?
It's really good. It's called 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
At the cinema?
Yeah, Park Lane.
Did you just make this up?
No, I swear. It's not playing at Bayers Lake or at any of the big ones, but Park Lane Mall.
Is it comedy?
Yeah, it's really
good.
Yeah, Francis McDermott.
Huh.
Wow, I got some good ideas. I got some good ideas for tonight.
There you go. You can rent.
Maybe yeah, I could rent. Yeah, maybe be a Netflix type of night.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Still ain't seen it.
I'm getting old now, so I can just sit on the couch and eat potato chips and watch TV.
Yeah, to be honest, there's a couple of good TV series. I won't say one of them because it might not be appropriate. It's something, The World Is Ending. Have you seen that one on Netflix?
I've heard about it.
Apparently it scored better than Stranger Things. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Wow.
It's an English comedy as well.
So if anyone has any TV shows for me to watch on my a couple days after my 40th birthday, that'd be
you're not going to have time to watch anything when you do these leagues.
That's true. It's all over.
All right, fellas, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers.